Hello, thanks for dropping in. So yes, today it is time to take this fine example of a keyboard and open it up. I believe I have everything I need handy here. I believe. So we'll just see. I know that at times my hands will get in the way of what you're seeing, but it's always a fine balancing act between doing what that screwdriver does not work at all. How about this one? Yes, this one does. These screws are mighty tiny, and I do not want to lose any of them. It is very easy for them to fall. I'm putting them delicately right at the front of the inside of the machine next to where I am working. There are, what did I say, 15 of them, I believe. There's a lot more on the other pets. Lots more. Oops. Oops. What's happening here? Have I come upon one that just doesn't? Oh, there we go. It's always better to take your time. I have, at times, not recently, but there have been times when I have used a little power screwdriver. And they're okay for some things, as long as you're sure you're really fitting in nicely to what it is that you're doing. But they can also take your time, and that is not going in nicely. There we go. They can also, in short order, strip the head of a screw. And that, whether it be a big thing in a car or a tiny little thing in a keyboard, a stripped head is never good. Never. So we're almost there. Just remember, take your time. It is not a race. Although one time I did take one apart with a timer going. I think it was a VIC-20 keyboard. I wanted to show just about how long it would take to do such a thing when really, trying to go at the best speed possible. I think it was around half an hour. This might be less. Okay, so now, by the way, I have never taken one of these exactly apart. I've taken lots of keyboards apart, but not one of these. So I'm going to get this out of the way, and I'm going to look. And inside, oh yeah, there is some, I don't know, just, 40 years of little bits and pieces that have drifted their way in there. So, basically what we have here are a bunch of little rubber pads. And they make contact with the circuit board. And when they do their thing, when a key is pressed and the signal is reached, they put the right key or right character up on the screen. Just like little switches, that's what they are. Little tiny switches. I also have right here that I'm dipping into is rubbing alcohol. round and round and round each contact I go. I'm not seeing, you know, tremendous dirt or anything in here. But this should tidy up the contacts for the next, you know, 40 years. After doing the keypad, I'm now turning this around, or I'm using a different end of the Q-tip. I'm not going to use the same one all the way through, because, you know, there may be little bits of dirt that are indeed being removed, and I don't want to transfer them to the next key. So maybe that's enough for that. Put that one down. Grab another. This is, by the way, well, it just says rubbing alcohol. I thought I had a bottle. Ooh, and now my hand, okay, careful. My hand is starting to cramp up a little bit, so I will switch hands. And I will go along. Time for a little more. I think what I typically use is 70%, but I'm not sure what this is. And oh, my hand, oh, my left hand is cramping, so I will use my right. I do see little bits of, I don't know, just residue of time on these contacts, but they look much better after I do that. I'm going to get another Q-tip. We're not here to save Q-tips. And I will dip it into the alcohol. And away we go. Down the road. Now, this is not the only step involved in this, because see, these little pads press on little contacts on a circuit board. Switching the Q-tip end, getting a fresh dose of alcohol, and we'll go across the top here. And my hand is cramping a little bit. Alright, so I'm just now giving a final inspection to see if on any key pads I see any little anything that would make me think that something is not tidied and cleaned. But they all look pretty fine. Alright, so that is done. I will delicately set that up there. Huh? Oh no, the lid for the alcohol. Oh, excuse me. Oh. Okay. Now, part number 2, the circuit board. Boy, this does not, it doesn't sit very nicely with this. Oh well, that should be okay. Alright, So here we have the circuit board, and on the circuit board are a whole lot of tiny little things, and that would be where the little pads make contact, which would of course complete the circuit, send the right signal to the computer, and then the right character should appear upon the screen. Time to switch ends. And once again, what really happens to a lot of these things, because you can't really see anything terrible, it is just the micro corrosion of time that comes along. So it doesn't matter if you go across, it doesn't matter if you go down, it doesn't matter if you go diagonally, as long as you get each key or each contact. Because you sure don't want to put this back together and then find out that you missed one key, one single little key. Anyway, once I get this back together, I will give it a try. And is it possible that there's a wire thing and I need to resolder something? It's possible. I don't suspect it's going to happen, but it's possible. Time for a new Q-tip. Now this keyboard is looking pretty clean. As you may know, like those say don't eat, don't drink around computers. This is of course the reason. I have heard of people who sit there in front of or near a computer that's critical for their work, and they somehow decide that having a vast quantity of alcohol, and I don't mean this kind of alcohol, handy and readily available, is wise. Let me tell you, it's not. Not that drinking is an evil thing, but really try and keep any and all liquids away from such a computer. Because, especially the new ones, like this thing, I mean, it wouldn't be good. New Q-tip. But, you know, like I've been dealing with the chocolate that was spilled inside of this other machine. I don't know how it got there, but it has been quite the journey. And, of course, it's more likely that it's like coffee or Coke or other things, or something mixed with alcohol. So I've done all the contacts. I think what I'm going to do now, there's a little more on the contacts. I'm going to switch this over, because there are, and I know it's hard to see, even here it's hard to see, there are on the circuit board some just little bits of dust here and there. So I'm just going to give a run across. Like I see just tiny little things, and of course, are they really going to do anything? Well, probably not. It's probably going to be just fine, but if I can, while I have this open, get them out. So basically, I'm just going to give the whole, there's a little bit, the whole keyboard just a quick basically a brushing off, or as my little grandmother would say. Oh yeah, see, I can actually see a little dirt on there. I'm going to get rid of that one. Maybe I'll do that one more time. I really don't want to take this apart again. At least for, 40 years. So I'm just going to give the whole thing a quick rub down. Each little spot has had its moment, but this is more just for anything that lingers. It is. And I don't see much on there, but what we're talking about here is sometimes microscopic. So the keyboard is now cleansed, but I'm not going to put it together quite yet. I want to give it a chance to dry off. I do. Meanwhile, while I'm here, I am just looking at these solder joints. They all look fine. The cable looks fine. One nice thing about Commodore is, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little plug in here. And on the circuit board, there will be a hole on the connector. This makes it so that it is pretty much impossible to plug the keyboard in backwards. I don't know what would happen if you did plug it in backwards, but this pretty much prevents that. As you will find on most Commodore things, there is usually a similar setup to prevent you from putting the wrong thing in the wrong thing. Like even the user port and the ieee port on the machines have little slots, and originally the ieee cables came with corresponding little inserts of plastic that would make sure you could only plug it in the right place, because of course the ports are pretty much identical except for these things. So, but of course by now, 40 years later, most of those little plastic things are no longer in there. So you just got to know what you're doing and be careful. Although once again, I very rarely heard of any damage being done by plugging the cable into the wrong port. But you know what? Just don't do it. Don't do it. So as I'm looking, this is still not completely dry. So I'm going to pick up the keyboard part and look at that. And just see if under the light I can once again see any contact that looks not tended to. And from what I can see, they look pretty fine. So I'm going to put that back down and give this a little more time to dry, keeping an eye on all the little screws. So essentially, to take this keyboard apart, it's 8 screws to get it out of the machine, 15 screws get the back off, and then you need alcohol and Q-tips. I'm sure there is something else you could use besides Q-tips, I'm sure. And there may be some exotic cleanser. Maybe. But I've always had good luck with this combination. I have. So, unfortunately, of course, or fortunately, once I get this keyboard back together, I will plug it back into this machine right here, and I will test it, and I will see that it is just dandy. And that will be good. Unfortunately, this one, which is pretty much fine, is not perfectly fine. So it's going to have to come apart again. Not again, but as well. It will. It will indeed. So, still looking like it could use some more time here. So let me think of what I'm up to here. Well, I'm cleaning the keyboard. I must have another story or two to tell. Just a moment. Hello, Andrew. Hi. I am recording. How are you? Good. Is it break time?
Yes, and Daddy?
Yes. Don't, Andrew, I'm recording right here.
1, 2, 3, 4, I declare some more.
Okay, hang on. 1, 2, no, you gotta go to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, I declare a thumb war.
Go.
Go. Isn't it bow something? And what is this about?
You have to, okay, so the rules are, you have to get the...
Ah! Gotcha!
You have to get the person's thumb down there and keep it for 3 seconds.
Okay, but what are we fighting over?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
1, 2, 3, 4. I declare a thumb war.
Isn't there a...
Kiss, bow,
begin?
begin.
Oh, yeah. Why are you pulling your hand?
1, 2, 3,
You got me.
Yay!
Good boy. Okay, let me just finish this up.
Okay.
And we will carry on. Alright. So, oh yeah. Just looking. It still looks like... Is it wet or does it look just wet? It's still, alcohol evaporates, but I just want to give it a little bit more time. Just a little. But it does look really good. Clean, mean, and green. It does. So, what I was looking at here was, of course, look, there's a test program for the Commodore PET. And I have this whole service reference guide here. Hello, Andrew. Andrew? You okay? Hello?
Hello?
Andrew, you okay?
Yes.
Okay, I just need a few. I've got this keyboard apart here. I just cleaned it.
Okay, but after you're recording, we are playing some more.
Okay, we'll do more thumb wars. Maybe I'll use my left hand this time.
Why?
Because I'm left-handed. And I have never been beaten at a thumb war using my left hand. But I can't do it now. Let me get this back together. Let me get this back together and test it.
I will beat you.
Okay. Have you seen Penny?
No.
Okay, she's around. Alright, I think we are good. I guess another thing to make sure of in this process, let's see, you get, I don't know if I could put this on backwards, but I would like to think I can't. So I guess a big part of this, oh yeah, there's some little holes, or little things here that kind of guide you. Maybe it's just one. Anyway, now, I must be very careful not to drop a screw. Very careful, and be very sure that once you start going in, that you are actually going in nicely. I think the first screw is probably the most critical. So make sure it's very nicely vertical, and I would say don't reef on it. There's an old saying, crank it till it snaps, and then back off half a turn. I would say that that does not apply to this. This screw is not wanting to be, there we go. You just got to be gentle. Take your time. Haste makes waste. You don't want to say, oh yeah, I got to get this done quickly and then break something. Like I'm typically backing the screw backwards till it feels like it kind of clicks in, and then going forwards when it's nice and vertical. Is that working? This one is not going so nicely. Or is it? Okay. Now we are going in. Now I am terrified, of course, about dropping one of these, because it's not that I couldn't find it, but they're tiny. And the chances that it might take a little bounce and a twist and a turn might make it very challenging. Just like getting this lined up properly is challenging. Okay, come on. It's not nicely going in. I mean, it is. But once again, take your time. And don't reef on it. If you notice, I'm kind of staying away from putting any in at the edge of the table here. Because as much as one, none of them have gone sproing on me. There we go. I would like to very much continue that situation. So I think I'm going over here. I don't believe it makes any difference into where you start on this. But you know, there may be something in the service manual somewhere that says, anyway, as I was talking about the service manual, service reference guide, I do intend to have a look in there to see if there's anything that it would tell me that would be helpful in using some of these programs that I have on cassette. Oh no, I feel like I'm just about to drop a screw. Okay, don't drop it. You know what, I'm going inside here. I would think that even if I were to lose one and not be able to get it in, that the keyboard would be okay. But I don't want to find out. Because, you know, I would think that it would like this keyboard to have a nice constant sort of spacing and pressure throughout the whole thing, which of course these well coordinated and spaced out screws would give, and this one is being difficult. Why is it being difficult? I don't know. Okay, there we go. You just gotta get it just so. Oh my. It seems there's always another. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to look through the service reference guide and see what I can find about the programs. I'm thinking that there is a harness or some kind of contraption that is required that I don't have. Maybe there is somebody who makes them out there. Maybe there's kind of enough instructions that I could make one, perhaps. Alright, we're almost there. This keyboard, I would bet, I mean, there's no real signs it's been opened, but I would bet it's been pretty much intact since probably it was put together at the factory. Ow, ow. My hand is cramping. My hand is cramping. Oh. So that would be more than 40 years ago. That's somehow, whether it's by machine or by human, that this was put together. Alright, we have the top. Ooh, my hand is cramping. Ooh. The top and the bottom. I'm going to go for the top because, well, my hand is cramping. I don't want to drop the screw. Ooh, almost dropped one right there. Sometimes they just don't want to go. They just don't. That one, it's funny. This one here, it's going in. And it seems to be straight, but it is putting up a little fight. Okay, last screw, bottom corner, hand cramping, hand cramping. I'll try and get it in with the other hand. And then get it vertical. So now I'm going to do a quick visual inspection. And indeed, it does look like all the screws are down nicely, snugly. Not too hard, not too soft, just right. And because we can, I think we can I open this? Oh, okay, I shuffled this back a little bit. We have success. Alright, slide. Excuse me. Okay. So now, I will take the connector off from the other keyboard, and I will find the correct configuration for this one, and I will put it on, and I will flip it over, and I will hold it in my hand, and I will reach for the power, and it will come up and will say Commodore Basic 7167 bytes free, and I will tap this key, and it will work, and it will work, and this will work. Every key that I can see is now quite joyfully and without hesitation working just fine. So that now, let's just move it over to the numbers. Yes. Now, when I hit enter, it will say, but now when I hook this back up to this other machine, I should be able to type in load and press play on tape 1, and it will be dandy, and it is. So, oh, and still looking at the top here, I do see the remains of what should be a lot of the little stickers, so I should deal with that too, but I'm not going to do it now. So there you have it. Bring your screwdrivers, bring your patience, bring your alcohol, and your Q-tips, which of course Q-tips is a brand name. It does not necessarily have to be the brand name Q-tip. It could be some generic Q-tip. But there it is. Good for another 40 years, perhaps. Oh, all right. Thanks for coming. We will meet again. I'm just trying to figure... There we go. Bye for now.